City General Gymnasium.
That's the
Can you see
arena?
me? Yeah, yeah. The arena is right at that door. So
Okay, so
I
that
went in
that was
there
the
and I
site
watched
of the.
Brian Norman Jr. get the 2025 knockout of the year. That's what I did.
So it's crazy, Brendan. Something about Brendan Taylor and knockouts of the year. They follow him. Brendan was there when Angelo Leo knocked out
That's
Fernando
right.
Lopez in New Mexico last year. He's in Japan when Brian Norman gets the
Correct.
knockout of 2025. Brendan, what is it? What is it about you? What's going on?
I have an appetite for aggression and I guess you could say destruction in boxing. So I always look for fights in the schedule that I feel will deliver an explosive outcome. And I remember back in September when I looked at the rankings one day, I saw Brian Noman and Jin Sasaki ranked near each other, and I said, "Oh wow, they're gonna fight." And I said, "Wow, that's gonna be an explosive fight," and it didn't fail to deliver. It delivered us a very, very explosive outcome. And Brian Norman Jr. has raised his stock 100-fold. I feel at least.
Yeah, he definitely has. But here's the thing though, that we were off about a little bit. We thought Sasaki would provide a more competitive foil. We thought this would be more of a two-way fight. How much credit does Norman get when it looked like Sasaki was actually, out of his depth? He goes down on the first left hook he gets hit with. Like,
Yeah,
how much credit does Brian really get, you think, from the public?
yeah.
Damn, Brennan.
I mean,
Brennan, stop,
the
maybe
public's
stop
not going to
walking
give him a
because
lot
the
of credit
internet's gonna work.
because. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to where I was standing because you know how these boxing events go, Sean. The security tries to kick you out. They start staring at you.
I hear you. Do what you got to do. But no, go on.
Am I
Break it
good
down.
now?
Yeah, you're good.
Am, so so what was the question again? I'm sorry. What was the question?
How much credit do you think Norman really gets with the public? Not us, but with the public. And how much does his stock really go up when it does look like Sasaki was out of his depth in this fight?
Yeah, I don't think people are going to give him the credit for the opposition. He'll get credit and he'll get his stock raised because of the outcome. Because you could fight somebody who's overmatched, but it's one thing to knock them out. It's another thing to put them on a stretcher. And I hope Suzuki's okay. But that's like one of them knockouts that you're gonna remember. Like, where was I when Brian Noman knocked out Suzuki with the left hook? So I think I can't speak for the world, but I would hope that it's enough for people to at least tell Jaron Ennis to stay at 147 because I don't like how Jaron Ennis waited till the day of the fight to announce he was going up. And I don't think it was a coincidence either.
You know what's funny, Brennan? We joked before the fight. We were like, everybody agrees that Brian Norman priced himself out with Boots and he can't mess with Boots and that basically he ducked Boots. And we were like, man, don't let Brian Norman get in there and have a brutal knockout and we'll start talking stupid and just to counterbalance them because I don't think Jaron Ennis is ducking Brian Norman. I still got to give him the edge over Brian Norman, but yeah, man, go ahead, Brendan. I
Right.
think you'll do
Okay.
it. I think you'll do that silly shit. But what do you think about all that, man?
What? Yeah.
That
Hold on. Hold on. Good to see you. Good to see you. Big knockout. Is he okay? Is Jin okay? Yes. He's good. He's good. But he's awake. Okay. He's awake. Oh, so for those wondering, Jin Sasaki is awake. So one of his sponsors just told me.
okay? Yeah, because again, Brendan was literally at the fight. Um, but no, yeah. Why did Boots have to announce that the day before Norm? Like, why did he wait until Norman was ready to fight Sasaki to tell everyone, hey, just so you know, it was like he knew, like, hey, I know Brian Norman's about to show out in Japan, so let me take all the air out of that balloon before it even gets started. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No. I think he had a feeling. He probably went ahead and watched some tape and probably thought that Brian was gonna do what he did, and I just don't like it, man, because I told you this many times and I've said it on my own channel. Like, Boots with his business, like with his career decisions, it's felt like very Demetrius Andrade esque at times. where he's got all the talent in the world to be this like Hall of Fame talent, Hall of Fame fighter, but he's getting in his own way. Now, of course, there's great fights at 154, Sean, right?
Big
But
time.
let me ask you a question. Do you really think, and I'll ask the chat this too, do you guys really think Jaron Ennis is going to fight anybody that's a big name in his first fight at 154?
He's gonna fight Murta Zalia, Murta Zalia.
I don't think so.
Bakram, 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 bakram.
I,
Murta.
I don't I don't think so. I think he winds up fighting like a Yoenis Talese or something like that.
Mm.
Win win like an interim title, Crawford goes up, he beats Talese, he gets elevated, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so are you guys gonna tell me? Are you guys gonna sit here and tell me with a straight face you want to see Boots fight Yoenis Talese more than Brian Oman Jr.? Because
See,
if you
there
do,
you go. There
then
you go.
I guess when I
Discrediting fighters, Brendan. Hating on fighters. He's moving up to fight an undefeated Cuban champion. Undefeated Cuban
but
champion.
why
And then
but
no,
why
no, no,
not fight?
no,
Why?
no, 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 no. You media guys never boxed professionally before,
Yeah,
and you sit there in your hat in Japan and you say
yeah.
Yoenis Tellez is an undefeated Cuban champion. Why are you not happy with that matchup?
Because I want to see him fight the undefeated American champion. How about that?
Our boy Boog,
Is
L-Dub
that too
Boxing, he
crazy of a
goes, nah, Sean,
concept?
Bakram's got. I know he's not fighting Bakram, Dub. Boog, I'm being a jackass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to do the Murtaza Aliyev song.
No, of course. Is that like a new thing you have going on now?
I've been doing it since he beat Tim Tszyu. He was my background on my phone for 3 weeks because I never wanted to
That
be
I
that
know.
wrong about a fight again.
No, that I knew. I just didn't know that you had a whole song. I never heard the song until just now.
No, but I mean, yeah, the Tellez fight sounds kind of realistic. Look, I think he's inevitably gonna fight the top dogs at 54 if he moves up, though, and he will be
No,
champ.
for sure. For sure. But to quote Boots in his recent interview with YSM Sports Media, he's 28 years old. He's starting to, get up there in age a little bit. Like he's not old, but he's getting close to 30. He's yet to be in a real significant fight. And here we have a real significant fight in the welterweight division,
We
especially
do now
now
have one.
after this big knockout. Just do the right thing. Do the right thing and fight. Like, okay, obviously it takes two to tango. We know Brian Noman Jr. turned down the 1.7. We could
Eddie
give
Hearn
our
let it
theories
be.
as to why.
But when Eddie Hearn says that Stan Jonas makes more than, I hate getting into this fucking shit. Once we start talking about
Me too.
promoters and money, but Eddie said that Stan Jonas made more than Boots. So technically, if you're asking for what Stan Jonas winds up getting, are you pricing yourself out? You are, because just because he's getting it doesn't mean you're gonna get it. But I'm asking for what the other champions get. He's got one belt, like I got one belt. I don't know. And it's just the
He
part of
didn't
it
have
that feels
he didn't
funny
have two
is,
defenses.
yeah. But
Go
the
ahead, go
part
ahead.
that feels funny about it is like I can't go to 54 to fight Virgil last year. Why? Well, I gotta stay at 47. I want to become undisputed at 47. It's like, okay, no, there wasn't a fight anyone gave a fuck about at
Correct.
47 when you said I have to stay here. Nobody wanted you to stay here, but you said I am, and I supported it. Remember, I was like, no, I get it, Jaron. Like you want to actually accomplish something of note before you leave the welterweight division. Fair enough, right? But now the real like
Correct.
it's here. The fight is
Correct.
actually here.
Correct.
But to be fair, BT, if he's outgrown the weight, he's outgrown the weight, right? Like we can't if you've outgrown the weight, you've outgrown the weight. But I don't know. What do you say?
No, I understand. I don't know. It just seems too convenient. Like I know I've seen Boots in person. I know how big he is, like as a welterweight. But bro, like it's too convenient. Like that you wait for the day of the fight to announce that. Like if you would announce it even a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a
Why
month
didn't you tell
ago,
us this a month or
I would
two?
have said okay. If you would have announced it after trying, that's what I'm saying. Like if you would have announced it maybe even after trying to negotiate the Brian Norman Jr. fight, okay, you would have got a pass. But you literally waited for the day of his fight to do that, and so I don't believe that it's a coincidence. I believe that because everybody says that Boots humiliated Brian Norman in sparring supposedly. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Maybe he got the better of him, but I think there was something in the ring that
Okay, that might be true,
that
but
might have
I've
given
heard
him
just
some
as many
fits.
people say that Brian
And I
Norman
think
got
he
the
knows.
better of Terrence Crawford in sparring. So, okay, maybe Boots did get off on him, but maybe he got
Correct,
off on
correct,
arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the world too. So,
correct. So, but my thing is, I think Boots, he saw something in the ring that he knows would be a very, very challenging. And let's be real, like Boots and Norman were both managed by the same person, which is Cameron Duncan. You know, the late Cameron Duncan, who was one of the greatest boxing managers of all time.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, shout out to
one thing that
RIP.
Boots and one thing that Boots one thing that Boots and Brian both have in common, before Cameron Duncan passed, is that neither one of them really fought any punchers. You know, neither one of them really fought any punchers until like Brian Norman with his last couple of fights with Santion and Jin. And I mean, I don't know who's the biggest puncher Boots has fought. Who
Via.
do you think it is, Sean?
Via.
Villa? Okay, Villa. I mean, he fought Roman Villa. Cool. Like Ricardo Salas knocked out Roman Villa in 5 rounds. So it's like, can we just do the right thing? Like, I'm not trying to be like a hater, but like, can we just do the right thing? Like, I
We
don't
do
want
the
to play
right
these
thing.
semantics of
Can we
like,
do the right
oh,
thing? Okay.
1.7.
Brendan,
Can we do
we
the
can
right thing for American boxing?
no,
Like,
no, no, we cannot. Because it's boxing. And it's boxing in America, and it's the 2020s. So to answer your question, no, we cannot do the right thing. We can't do the right thing with this fight, and we won't do the right thing with anything else either. So get used to it, or just stay your ass in Japan, Brendan.
well, people always get on my case. They say, BT, why do you make so many videos about Japanese boxing? I'm like, because they with the shits. They get the fights. They they
No,
fight
no, hey,
often.
Inoue
Like,
and
come
Nakatani,
on.
you're marinating right now.
Yeah, they're marinated. Okay, so they have their own politics here. I get that, but
Ioka and Inoue
it's
didn't
not
fight.
as much. No, they didn't.
They did not. Okay.
They did not.
Our dysfunction is
Just, look,
worldwide.
just make Brian Norman versus Boots, or Boots. Just make the damn fight. Like, I'm sure if the money is right, Jaron Ennis will find a way to get a nutritionist and get down to 147. He had no problem doing it for Stanley Honest. He can do it one more time for Brian Norman Jr.
You know what? And similarly, same thing for Devin Haney with Richardson Hitchens. Okay,
Yeah,
if you cannot get down, if I am asking you to do something you are physically incapable of doing, fair enough. But for
yeah,
Jaron Ennis and Devin Haney, if you can make that weight
yeah.
still, then we need to see that fight. Or, we. So I mean, I guess even I actually it's funny because those two fights are kind of connected. If Ennis moves up from welterweight and he's done for good, then maybe Haney and Hitchens could fight for the IBF title that he vacates or the WBA title he vacates at welterweight. At which point, okay, cool. All right, yeah,
Yeah,
Haney Hitchens 47 for a belt. Okay, that works. But what I'd rather see happen
yeah.
is both of them have to make 40 and 47 one more time, and Haney fight Hitchens and Boots fight Norman.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like you can't go around, and this goes to all fighters. You can't go around saying you're the big bad wolf, and then when another big bad wolf comes knocking on the door, you want to start talking about I want to go to this weight class, and you announce it on the day of his fight.
True, it's true.
Like so,
It feels a little Floyd Mayweather-ish, like when Canelo or Pacquiao would have a fight and he would just do an interview or say something to kind of take the play away the week of their fight. Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
yeah, and I've spoken to the Normans this week in the build to this fight, and Brian Norman Senior's dad has been extra adamant about he's been telling Bozy and them, your son can't punch this, that, and the third. So okay, prove him wrong. Prove that Brian Norman Senior is lying. Everybody gets mad at Brian Norman Senior for running his mouth, but like the guy that's capable of shutting him up is not trying to fight.
Right.
And I don't want to hear about they made an offer. Okay, you made one offer to him after he just became champion.
Just became dude.
Almost.
He's 23. Boots, when you were 23, did you fight Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford? Like, did you fight the best fighter in your division at 23? Like, no. You got yeah. Norman
No.
has gotten a little bit of seasoning now and two title defenses. Now he's a lot more ready for this kind of assignment, you know? And I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
Once you're world champ, no one wants to hear that shit. If you're world champion, it's time to fight the best. So I get it. But the fight is way better now than it was 9 months ago.
Correct. And you know, pretty much any and every champion in boxing, with the exception of a few. When you win your first world title, you always get that first offense, that voluntary, just to stay busy, make some money. So like they know the bit, like they know the game.
What was that like in the arena?
Hello.
Yeah, what was that like in the arena?
It was crazy because the Japanese crowd, it's known for being very subdued, and they were their normal selves, but like I think they were a little bit more up for it because of the occasion of potentially the first Japanese welterweight champion being crowned. And I'm gonna say, yeah, rounds 3 and 4, Jin had some good moments. I don't know if you gave him any of those rounds, Sean, but I thought he would. I thought he could have won at least one of those rounds. So it felt like in the arena he was starting to build at least a little momentum. No, no.
I mean, he was dangerous throughout, and I do think some of his
It,
left
it,
hooks got Norman's attention for sure. And
yeah.
Norman had a good poker face and didn't let him know that it got his attention. So, but no, I don't think he actually won a round.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought he won a round, but
Fights are different
um,
on TV.
it
You're
felt like
there
he
live.
was.
It's a different look.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did
It
it
looked
look
a
like
lot
he
different.
won a round live? Yeah.
Because he was pushing him back, and then in the rounds 3 and 4, he started boxing more consistently behind the jabs, the stomach, and it gave the impression that he from in the arena it looked like he might have won a round off of effective aggression. So it felt like there that even though Jin could barely stand straight in round 3, that he was gonna maybe survive at least to the 6th or 7th and maybe catch a second wind. But right when we got that feeling in the arena, Brian Owen landed the kill shot, and when he hit the ground, I remember I just glanced at his head as he was going to the canvas, and I saw it bounce up and down, and I'm like, oh no, I've seen this movie before in person, and I don't like being right about certain things, but I did say in the build up to this fight that what makes Jin so dangerous for not just Brian Owen but any welterweight is that to beat him, you're gonna have to beat him to the point where they carry him out the ring, and that's exactly what happened. They had to carry Jin Sasaki out of the ring. Thankfully, I was just informed about 10 minutes ago by one of his sponsors that I know that he is breathing, he is alive, he is conscious, but it was very scary.
Yeah, he did.
Might be the best knockout. It's in the running for the best knockout I've ever seen live.
Yeah, and you were there when Wilder knocked out Stavern in the first round in Brooklyn. So you've seen some good knockouts.
Yep, 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 yeah. So it was special. It was honestly the ideal title defense in Japan for Brian Norman Jr. He showed a little bit of everything. He showed his boxing skills. He
Yep.
showed his counter punching, and then he showed that ability to put the exclamation point on everything. So it's amazing, and I hope that regardless of what's been said between both teams, that Brian Norman and Jaron Ennis can sit down to the table as top elite upper echelon warriors of the sport and give the boxing fans in America a great unification fight.
Yeah, and peep the creativity on offense from Norman tonight. Sometimes leading with the right hand, sometimes throwing the up jab. I know the lights just went out on you. Sometimes throwing the up jab. He was doubling up the jab to sweep
Oh
the
no,
right.
okay.
He went to that body, uppercuts, left hooks, right hands, throwing the right hand 2 or 3 different
Yeah,
styles, and always using the jab and good defense in this fight against a guy who doesn't have the most sophisticated approach. He saw a lot of things coming and defended well.
nah, and to do that on Japanese on foreign soil is it makes it more impressive because I know from being here just a month ago, like a month ago when Angelo fought, Kameda, I was in the dressing room. I seen a lot of you know, how difficult it can be to win here. So, I respect the Normans. Norman's dad, I talked to him a lot in the build to the fight, and he said very clearly to me, he said, "Look, you guys think Jin is this big puncher, and we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to be right here for him, and we're gonna beat the brakes off of him." And that's
We
exactly
counterpunched
they
him.
did exactly what they said they were going to do.
He stayed.
He
He just
counterpunched the
he
counterpuncher.
took little half steps back. He didn't use excessive movement. He didn't need to bounce a lot. He stepped around the ring and counterpunched really well against a guy who's not the
Yeah,
hardest guy to counterpunch, but he did it really well.
no, of course not. But he
So
did it really
BT, a
well.
few
And when you
things. A
fight
few.
someone that,
No, go ahead.
go ahead,
No, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
man. I'm gonna tell you some of the things the chat are saying.
I was I, I was gonna say, when you fight someone that you know is gonna throw a lot of high output of punches, it's still hard to think under duress, even if he is defensively irresponsible. Because there's a lot of guys that are defensively irresponsible that throw a high volume of punches with bad intentions, and they're not easy to just counter punch
Yes.
for a whole fight the way Brian Norman did. So he deserves a lot of credit.
Because he kept his calm in the eye of the storm.
Go
If you're
ahead.
jittery and that heat coming your way makes you
Correct.
bounce out of range, and then you can't counterpunch because you're out of range, bouncing out of range, and not feet aren't set and all that. So yeah, good point, Brendan. I just want to say,
Correct.
there's people saying we gassed Norman Sasaki up too much. Yeah, we overestimated his chances in this fight. We thought he'd make it more competitive. That's fair. And then someone said, look, keep the same energy. When Boots gets hit, you say he has no defense. When Norman gets hit, now you got to say he has no defense. Me or Brendan haven't said that Boots doesn't
I've
have
never said Norman. I never
defense.
said Boots has no defense. I don't know where
Yeah,
they got that from.
yeah, exactly. He's
Eh,
Boots has a is got a lot of defense. It's just sometimes he's defensively careless and irresponsible. But when he wants to, he can make you miss seven punch combinations with upper body movement and hit nothing but air. He's actually a high level inconsistent defensive fighter who doesn't tuck his chin the best.
Correct.
Yeah, but his defense is inconsistent. He'll have three sequences of brilliance and then one sequence where his chin's wearing a shot because he's not staying responsible.
Part of the reason why I feel Jaron Ennis is irresponsible goes back to my original point of basically, you know, he's not really fighting guys who are punchers. So when you're fighting somebody that you know doesn't pose any threat to you, you can sit in the pocket, you can roll shots, you can let them get off two or three to get your one or two off. I think if he fights a guy like Brian Norman Jr., you're going to see a more defensively sound Jaron
Yep.
Ennis. So no, I don't think he has terrible defense. And in fact, when he's fought Karen and guys where he's gotten hit and people say he has bad defense, I made it a point to say no, he does not have defense. If you go back and watch the videos,
Yeah.
so there's that.
So we got a super chat from DQuest007. He says, "Can Haney outbox Norman Jr.?" I got Norman Jr. in that fight.
Um, no, I don't think he can outbox Brian Norman Jr.
I mean, he could.
Because
I just don't think he would.
he well, yeah, because Brian's maturing and not just that, we don't know what Devin Haney is. Like Devin Haney hasn't like he fought Jose Ramirez, who was a fantastic fighter, in his prime, but it's a very compromised version of him at 147, and he still didn't really show that ability or the willingness to exchange or put up a dominant performance. So I think against Norman, who really, as we saw tonight, I mean, if you had any doubts before, let there be no doubts anymore. Brian Norman is really punching like that. And what was the punch that knocked out Jin Sasaki tonight?
It was a left hook.
The left hook. And what has Devin Haney had problems with defending his whole career?
Whether it's a southpaw or an orthodox fighter, the left hand.
Exactly. So, I think if you were to fight a guy like Brian Norman Jr., about who he said is quote unquote ass, he would have some demons to overcome if he gets hit by Brian Norman Jr. I have zero doubt about that. He has to overcome some things mentally in that fight.
Look, Haney doesn't have the length advantage he's enjoyed at lightweight and 140 against Norman. I don't believe he has a longer reach
Yep.
than Brian Norman. I don't think he's a more gifted athlete than Brian Norman. I think they're both athletic. But Norman is a grown ass man, country strong at welterweight. He punches much harder than Haney. And I think, um, uh, unfortunately for Haney, who called him ass this week, he's not ass. He does have skill to go with that power and size at 47, and he's a good athlete. So I got Norman. I got Norman against Haney, and I got Norman against Lopez. But Lopez could beat Norman. That's a hell of a fight. Someone asked earlier in the chat, did Boots duck Tio? Look, I didn't say that Boots ducked Tio, just like I didn't say Tio ducked Devin. Those were all negotiations over in Riyadh season type fights, and I don't know. It's the guys didn't want to take the offers. If you out there watching want to call Tio a duck for turning down $11 million to fight Devin Haney, I get it. If you want to call Boots a duck for ducking Tio, fine, I get it. Me personally, I don't know. I didn't feel compelled to call anybody a duck. It's just
I won't.
I don't know. That's just me.
I won't say it's a. I won't. I won't say it's a duck, but what I will say is, when Boots was, campaigning at 47, I've always said that if he wants to, make his name bigger in the sport, the Teofimo Lopez fight would make a lot of sense for like the Jaron Ennis marketability and the profile. He easily be the most accomplished fighter Boots has fought in his career to date. So
I mean,
I
you
thought it
had
made a
two
lot of
great
sense, but
options at 47.
he
Isn't
didn't.
this what
They
you
didn't.
isn't this what you stuck around 147 for? Is to for big fights, not just Stanionis. So now you got the super lightweight champion who's a star in TO, or you now a dude has risen up to be that clear-cut number two guy to fight for the welterweight titles, and he's moving up. We're beating a dead horse. It is what it is. And some people in the chat said BT be fair to Boots.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What do you? Well, how am I not being fair?
I don't know.
What did I say that was? What did I say about Boots that was
I think they
not
would
a
say
fact or not correct?
I think they would
Has
say, look,
Boots fought?
Norman priced himself out and the dude outgrew the weight. So what's the criticism? Like what are you two bitching about? I think we've explained pretty
The
well.
criticism, the criticism. Yeah, we have. We don't got to beat a dead horse, but
No, 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 go ahead. No,
yeah.
because they asked.
I was gonna say so look on this panel you have Sean Zattel, right? We had differing opinions on what Boots should do within the last year.
Wait one
Sean
second.
took
Just
the
one
stance
second.
of
Someone in the chat said Haney is the youngest undisputed ever. Put some respect on his name. Respect. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Through this, like, here's the respect. 23
respect.
years old, youngest undisputed lightweight champion, 5-time world champion at two weight
Pernell Whitaker.
Can you live and breathe now? Can grown men finish their discussion? As you were saying, go ahead.
So what I was saying was, what were you talking about? I got completely off track.
They're talking about be fair to Boots, and you were going to reply. You are being fair.
Yeah. Okay. So you have two people on this panel, right? Sean and me have different stances on what Boots should have did over the last year. Sean took the stance of Boots should stay at 147 and solidify himself. And then you have me, who's been yelling and screaming from the mountaintops since before Brian Noma even beat Santion that Boots should move the hell up to 154. Now, when I made videos
I actually said go to 54 too back in 2024. I said fight Tim Tszyu, cut Crawford before Crawford got to 54. You go to 54 and get a belt. But then once this Canelo shit started happening, I said, okay, fine, stay at 47. You're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I said that I was screaming for the mountaintops to go to 54, and every Boots fan on YouTube would tell me, BT, he wants to stay at 147 to solidify himself. So I was mad for a long time, and I would reply to them saying that he's being ridiculous. There's not really anybody there. But guess what? He waited around so long ago that he allowed someone to emerge that I actually want to see him fight. That's actually a compelling fight. That's actually a young, undefeated, dangerous, hard-punching fellow prime American fighter. And that guy is the brother from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Brian Norman Jr. So if you can't make the weight, I fully understand it. But if you really want to fight Brian Norman Jr., like you always said you did, I would try to revisit that negotiation one more time. And if they start pump faking, then you have every right in the world to say, you know what, this guy's not serious. His management team's not serious. I'm going to go to 154. I'm going to go pursue those other guys. Like, what really works against Boots, when I discussed this too, is the fact that he turned down a Virgil Ortiz fight. Like, he was offered a Virgil Ortiz fight on the principle that he couldn't make one, or that he wanted to stay at 147.
And
he wasn't ready
heard
for
from people in the business close to PBC that right before he left for Matchroom to sign his 3 fights with Eddie, he had an offer to fight Tim Tszyu in what eventually became the Fundora Tszyu fight in March of 2024. So he's had opportunities to get big fights at 54, but he turned them down to finish his claim at 47. Yeah, go ahead.
So try and finish it.
So try to finish it.
All I'm doing is holding Boots up.
What did Kobe say after the Lakers went up 2-0 against the Magic? What did he say?
He said, job not finished, job not done.
What did he say?
He said, job not finished, job not done.
Job's not finished.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
job's not finished. To quote Kobe Bryant.
You be standing honest, all right? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if Boots will ever get Barrios in the ring. That one, is tough. Maybe.
Forget Barrios. Barrios is, making his money fighting a 46-year-old Pacquiao. PBC will probably look to match him with Rolly Romero. They're not trying to match him with no Boots Ennis or Brian Norman. Respect to Barrios. Okay. I think he's going to beat Pacquiao, but levels.
Yeah, but I feel like this fight right here is it's the unofficial undisputed fight of the welterweight division. You
Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
Norman and Boots like
Yeah.
that. If you're looking to truly solidify yourself, with all respect to Stanley who's a good fighter, this is how you fully solidify yourself. Standing honest alone is not solidification of being the best welterweight in the world. And I don't care if Ring Magazine put the belt on the line. I was the first person when they announced it that said that it shouldn't be on the line because standing honest, in my opinion, is not better than Brian Norman Jr. And he never really proved to be better than Brian Norman Jr. definitively. So how can you put the Ring Magazine belt on the line and say that this guy's number one and this guy's number two? I feel like now Boots has done what he needs to do. Brian Norman has been doing what he needs to do. This is number one versus number two. This is
It
the
is.
actual like fight that will solidify you. So it's no hate, it's no disrespect. I like Boots. I've been to his gym in Philly. I know Bozy. I got Bozy's number in my phone. They're cool people. But
So
I'm not gonna
we
sit
got
here
people
and
in the
ignore
chat.
what my
It says, are you guys doctors? Are you guys doctors? No, we're not. And if Boots can't make the weight anymore, then all right, everything we said is null and void. And okay, fine. But if he can, then he should fight Brian Norman, and that would finish
can
his.
someone
And the job is finished at welterweight. So
can
that's it.
someone in the chat can someone in the chat just answer this question for me? Why did Boots wait till the day of Brian Norman's fight to announce this? Do you think it was a coincidence? Do you guys think it was an honest coincidence? Because I don't. I, I don't think it. Eddie Hearn started it first, couple earlier in the week, and then Boots waited to the day of the fight to do that. So I just maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being too harsh, but I don't think it's a coincidence because Jaron Ennis is a nice person. He's a nice, well mannered, kid who grew up in the boxing gym.
Yeah,
I've almost never heard him talk trash, but one of the few times he has talked trash, he called Brian Norman trash. So there's definitely something there in his spirit that he feels towards Brian Norman Jr. So I feel like he's being petty. That's what I believe,
he's
and
on
I'm a
his
fan
Floyd
on it.
Mayweather. I'm gonna steal the thunder from your show the week of, and yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of thing. That kind of thing. And all I want to do is just see the best fight the best, and I think Brian. I'm giving Boots credit. I'm giving Boots respect. I'm calling him the best, one of the best in the division, if not the best. I want to know for 100% fact who truly is the best, and I won't know until Brian Norman Jr. and Boots fight each other. That will be the determining factor.
Well, all right. It looks like some of the Boots fans are not happy with what we're saying. We're sorry that we want to
I
see
don't
the
care.
best fight in the welterweight division. We're sorry.
I don't care I don't
My
care how
bad.
they
My
feel.
bad.
This is yeah.
I feel bad now. Now I feel like I'm doing something wrong. How dare
You
what's
know what? Let's hype up the Boots versus Jesus Ramos or Yoenis Talise fight,
I like that. I like that. Or Boachuk or
or
Matt.
Brian Mendoza,
Yeah.
or no Brian
Brian
Mendoza. He's gonna fight
Mendoza.
Brian Mendoza.
I want
Yeah,
to see that more than the Norman fight. I do.
of course. Yeah, the Brian Mendoza fight is the fight that's gonna get Boots to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, why not?
So uh all right. Well, Virgil versus Boots is a much better fight. Virgil versus Boots is a great fight, but
We love to see it.
it's not number one versus. There's a lot of business that has to be handled at 54 for those two men to fight for the crown at 154. There's Fundora up there, there's Bakram, and a couple other.
Zoo.
And Zayas is fighting for the. That's a good bro. That's a good fight, by the way. The Xander
Mm-hmm.
fight on the.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a good
like
fight.
there's a lot of yellow. There's No, I'm excited about that. Seeing Xander get a shot at the belt. There's a lot of yellow tape Boots has to get across before he even thinks about Virgil. And I mean, I wish in a perfect world, I wish we could just get Boots
Ooh,
versus
Norman
Virgil.
versus
Boots,
Polanco. Yeah,
great fight.
that's
Love
a
that
good
fight.
ass fight.
That's a tough fight. That's a very tough fight for anyone. Braun Polanco, he's not getting a lot of the fanfare and the headlines because he don't speak English and he's from the Dominican Republic. But that dude is dangerous, very dangerous guy.
You
And I
go.
think I think him and Norman will be fireworks.
I'm gonna look up the rankings real quick at welterweight because I want to see if Boots is done at 47. Who's up next at IBF and WBA?
Okay,
So right now Norman's mandatory would be Alexis Roca. Meh, he definitely beats Roca. That's an ugly fight
for
for
sure.
Roca. Um, Roca's okay. So for Boots's belts, Crocker from the UK, Donovan from Ireland,
Come
uh,
on, like what are we doing here?
and then with the WBA, Rolly would be elevated to full champion. And
Yep.
Giasov, right. Giasov, Haney's number two. Ryan's number three still for some reason. Um, okay, so Haney is positioned to fight for the WBA, regular belt. It's funny, Haney and Rolly are kind of positioned to fight each other. That is
Yeah.
a good fight, Haney and Rolly. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. It's thin at welterweight once Boots moves up.
Yeah. I mean, the division's going to hell regardless. So can we at least go out with a bang? Can
Yeah,
we go with?
yeah. I don't think I don't think these 40 pounders in Haney and Lopez are really going to try to fight Norman.
Nah, nah.
I don't
I
think.
mean, it was reported last year at some point that Tio actually had the opportunity to fight Norman, and he decided to go another route. So,
Right, right. So
so
there you go. But
there's that. And then after that knockout,
yeah, Raul Curiel, Chronic Boxing News, is a good contender. I see he's in the top seven for
he's
the.
he,
He's
he,
solid.
he's solid. He's okay. He needs to go rematch Rocha because it's debatable if he even beat Rocha.
Stanley Gist, who said he'll never listen to us talk boxing again. Why didn't Norman take the Boots fight? Well, I don't know. He turned it down. Most people would
Weeks.
feels as though he outpriced himself. I said he outpriced himself. I still think they just didn't want to take the fight. They just didn't feel. Brian Norman was 23. He had just had his first title fight. Ennis is 27. So they turned it down. They turned it down. They ducked that fight at that time. But the pricing
I
themselves out narrative takes a hit when Eddie reveals that Stan Jonas made more than Boots, which would be more than what he was offering Brian Norman. That takes a little bit of a hit. And now the fight is a lot, it makes a lot more sense and is bigger now. Norman has gotten two title defenses under his belt, so he's more prepared for that assignment now. Now is the time to make the fight. And Boots, for the
and
millionth
it's a
time,
bigger
he said
fight.
he had
I
to
feel like
stay
I
at
feel
this
like both.
weight class to finish it. And again, job's not finished, but he's moving up. If his body
Like
can't make the weight anymore, fine. It is what it is.
what's funny? People will get in my comment section a lot, and they say, or just not my comment section, all boxing media's comment section, and say, well, why don't you guys hold these fighters accountable for things they say, right? So here I am
We are doing it.
holding Jaron Ennis accountable for staying at 147, and the Boots fans are getting all angry and butthurt and pissy about it. Like, nah, man, you said you wanted to fight at 147. Go fight that country boy from Georgia and solidify yourself. It's a great fight. Like,
Great.
Boots is gonna have a chance to look great in that fight. Like,
They could put that John in Philly. They could put it in AC. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they could. They
You
gotta
think
handle the
Brian
business
Norman
and
Jr. is
do
a
whatever.
smut John? Show him he a smut John.
Yeah,
So who's the smut John? Let's see.
I don't know who Smut John is, but
But man, we're good, man.
hopefully we just get these guys to do what's right for. All right, Sean.
No,
Well,
let's see. Anything else you
I
guys
gotta head
want
out.
us to touch on before we get out of here? Before me and BT call the wrap? I'll give the chat a minute or two to see if there's anything they want us to finish on. But that country boy from Georgia ain't fought nobody, and neither is really Jaron Ennis. Like Jaron Ennis has fought the best fighter between the two of them, and Stan Jonas. Credit to him for that, but neither one has got an Oscar De La Hoya resume, bro. And they both.
Correct. I mean, and you know what? It's not by coincidence. I want everybody to understand that they are both managed by Cameron Duncan.
And
Cameron
boxing fans
Duncan.
gotta stop this. Well, my guy is all these reasons why it doesn't need to happen. Why your favorite fighter doesn't need to fight the other guy. You'd rather win an argument online than have your favorite fighter win the fight in the ring. That shit has to stop. It won't.
Yeah, because it won't. But I don't have a dog in the race. Like if Boots goes in there and just styles on Brian Norman Jr., then fair play to him. Like, and if Brian Norman Jr. goes and clocks Boots and gets him out of there, then good faith for him too. I just want to see the two guys that I know are currently the best in the weight class face off. So that these guys, when they hang their gloves up, there's not all these questions about, oh, why didn't you fight him? Why did you do that? You know, I'm about the truth, Sean, and I know with you uh, loving conspiracy theories and being the guy you are, you love the truth too.
I do.
So I just want to know the truth. That's it. I don't want what Eddie Hearn tells me the truth is. I want the boxing ring to tell me what the truth is.
There you go.
So that's where I'm at.
I'm just waiting on my man Matt Borgensen. I missed his super chat earlier, so I told him go ahead and send it again. This time without the super chat attached, and we could answer what Matt had for us.
Okay, okay.
So Karan Jukajan beats all 147 pounders. I don't think so. I mean, he's
I don't think that, but he's a good fighter. You
a
know,
good
I
fighter.
would like to respond to that. I would say that I would like to see Karen fight some of the top contenders and even maybe some of the champions and get to prove himself outside of Jaron Ennis. Because to be fair to him, Jaron Ennis is arguably the best welterweight in the world, and he had to fight him 2 times. So step him down a little bit and let's see where he's at. Because I think it's hard to really quantify what Karen is because he's fought Drawn Boots Ennis twice and he hasn't really fought much of anything else.
Right.
So let's match him up and let's see. It could have just been style matchup, or maybe he actually is really that good of a boxer, but we don't know until he fights other guys.
I'm just waiting on
I know that people,
no, go ahead.
yeah, Matt. I was gonna say most of the people that bring up Karen don't even actually like Karen.
No,
They don't even like.
it's being a Boots Ennis fan thing. You don't
Yeah, yeah. That's how it is. It's one of those things. So
if you talk to a Gervonta Davis fan long enough, they will convince you that Mario Barrios is Sugar Ray Robinson. They will.
yeah,
Yes, I've done it. I've seen it. Matt Borgensen. Okay, so what he said was, I was just saying that Jin Sasaki should have never got to the fifth round. The fact that the ref didn't stop it after he got dropped from a light jab would have raised red flags to me. This is why Japanese fighters are dying in the ring. BT, what would you say to that?
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Just that. I'm like this is Japan, bro. Like, there's a high tolerance level for the teams to throw in the towel, and like I'm telling you, like if they, that's another reason I said if you in the build up to this fight, Brian Jr. is gonna have to beat Jin Sasaki to where they have to carry him out the ring because that's just part of how Japanese boxing is. And it's weird because I like the aggression of Japanese fighters and how you know how gruesome some of these fights can be, but there's also the dark side of boxing. These are still human beings with flesh and bones, and the human anatomy is not designed to take this much punishment from guys that can punch like that. So I would agree with Matt. He's right.
Well, what's interesting to Matt's point and what you said is that Papa Inoue, with his candid comments recently, that hey, we might have to pump the brakes on the Nick Ball fight and move into 26 because my son, he fights for the knockout, and if we went to 26 right now and my son would use his speed and his movement and fight to go to the distance, he would be fine at featherweight. But I know my son. My son wants to get the knockout and keep giving people this style that they're falling in love with. So he said, we might not take the Nick Ball fight this year. We might have to take our time going to featherweight so my son can put the strength on and deliver the knockouts he wants. That speaks to your point. Like, here's a new way with all the foot speed and hand speed and reflexes in the world, but he almost gets himself knocked out by Ramon Cardenas because of how the Japanese view the way you should fight, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. It's ingrained in the boxing culture here. Like right now, I'm standing right here talking to you, Sean. They got Sora Tanaka standing right over there. I don't know if you can see Sora Tanaka, but he's there with the fans
Yeah, he was the
with the
co-main and won tonight. Yeah,
co-main event, the Mike Tyson, the Yokohama.
man, get him on the chat, man.
You want me to?
Get him some shine. Yeah, get him some shine, man.
Shit,
Sora
hold
Tanaka with
on.
the fifth round. It was the fifth round TKO,
Hold on.
right? Bro,
Yeah, yeah. Hold on. Let me go say hi to him. Hold on. Give me a second. Oh, uh, hold on. Oh. He's signing autographs right now. I mean, he can't.
man.
He's signing. He's
Oh, he signed it. Look at him.
hold on. Yeah. What do you think about the stoppage in his fight?
The dude's jaw looked broke. So
Yeah.
good
すいません。
stoppage.
Oh, Tanaka, そうだ。アメリカ。Yeah. Yeah,
Good
YouTuber,
fight, man.
YouTuber,
Good fight.
YouTube.
Congrats.
Good fight, good
Arigato.
fight.
Arigato.
Yeah. すごい。
Hey, we had Sora Tanaka
Yeah,
on
man.
the channel. Let's go, baby.
There you go. You had so Tanaka. That's right. But
That's awesome, man.
yeah, ain't yeah. But Sean, any are we done? Because my phone's gonna
Uh,
die soon. I gotta get on the train.
all right. Last one. From MDA 0214 with the super chat says, why did Norman Jr. call out Ennis after his last fight, then sign a contract for Jin Sasaki instead of waiting for Ennis versus Stanionis winner? Well, I'll say this. He knew the reason why Jin Sasaki was in Las Vegas is that fight was already agreed to. That fight. So
Correct.
the press didn't know until about May, late April that Sasaki Norman was official. Me and Brendan knew that night because Daisuke Segura, the best Japanese boxing reporter in the world, told us they have a fight agreed to for June. So they were already agreed to.
Correct.
And Norman didn't really pursue the Ennis fight after that. It was pretty
Oh,
much
hold on.
known he
Somebody
was.
said Murata. Hold on, Sean.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on. Ryota Murata.
Oh, Ryoto Murata.
Okay. I'm
What
sorry.
up, man?
Oh, sorry. Hi. Yeah. English. You know me? You, I interview one day. Someday. All right.
Yeah, man. Former
Uh,
WBA middleweight champ. Lost that title to Golovkin in that unification a couple years ago. Shout out to Ryoto Murata.
I
But
I might I might get in trouble for that.
yeah, my bad. But
It's all good.
he anyways, it's not like Ennis's fight was in April. This fight's in June. It's a
Yeah.
2 month turnaround. It's not like when he's not on the schedule where he fought 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months after the Cuevas fight. It's a quick turnaround. We're in June. The summer has just
Yeah.
begun. So
Yeah.
Stan, look, Ennis was technically booked already for the next month, so he gets a quick payday in Japan, and now he's
Raise his
freed up, and we still
profile.
got the whole summer in front of us. It could so. What do you say to it, Brendan?
I'm gonna say, look, man. I knew not because of Dice Kid, but I knew because I knew the chairman of Jin Sasaki's gym, a guy named Issei Nakaya. I was told months in advance they were gonna fight, and that's why he was in Vegas, like you said. But I mean, people get mad at fighters for being inactive, right? And then so is Brian Norman Jr. supposed to go fight Jaron Ennis being inactive? You know, he came here, got a fight, stayed active, raised his profile, got a big knockout, and now the fight is much bigger. So what more do you want? The only thing left to do is for both guys to show up, negotiate, get what they feel they deserve, and we can solidify
Wait a
who's
minute.
who at
Wait a minute.
welterweight.
Wait a minute. What difference does it make? If Ennis's last fight was going to be against Stan Jonas at welterweight, then it doesn't matter, right? If Brian Norman
Yeah,
would have just said, "I'm just going to chill after Cuevas now and hopefully get an offer," it doesn't
yeah,
matter, right? Because he wasn't going.
and
His last fight at Stan Jonas was going to be welterweight anyways, right? So
yeah. Well, and he never said that. I never heard you guys the Boots fans can correct me if I'm wrong. Boots, I never heard Boots say before the Stanionis fight. This is my
my
last fight at
last fight
welterweight.
at
Did you hear that, Sean?
147.
No, I never heard him say that. So, what are we doing? What are we talking about?
Yep. So, but it is what it is. I'll catch you guys later. BT, thanks for rocking with me. What time is it in
Thank
Japan
you.
right now?
It is 10:02 p.m. 10:02 p.m.
All right, man. If I were you, I would go. Sean's making excuses. I mean, if you want to play that game, is Boots making excuses? Is like,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
don't. All right, if you want to say that, if you think I'm, just being biased to Norman or whatever, I think I'm just being realistic, like about the whole situation.
I
If
don't
you
think.
if you disagree and you just want to call Norman a duck and Boots, then all right, then if that satisfies you and you're good, then you're good. I just see it a different way.
Yeah, I see it a different way.
Uh,
Even if Boots goes to the, what are they talking about? But I'm gonna head out, Sean,
All
because I
right,
gotta
later,
go and
BT.
train.
Peace.